Solvitur Ambulando, The Adventures of Steve and Dixie by Stephen Breakstone. Snippets from my journal. Episode 19. The Indian Festival in Anadarko, Oklahoma. Side note. As suggested by David and Sybil Sanders and a few other friendly people, we headed to the Indian Festival in Anadarko. I don't have many notes about hitchhiking back and forth from Chickasha, but we were picked up and dropped off at the same place on the highway just west of the junction between Route 81 and 62. We could have walked to Anadarko and then head north from there, but I could see on the map that getting back to and walking on Route 81 towards Kansas was a better route to meet our overall desires of walking on state roads where there were more towns and people to meet. The following are snippets from my journal entries from my time at the Indian Festival that are poignant to the experience. And although the experience was less inspiring than I had hoped, I really did have a greatly appreciated experience, and I did achieve greater insights into some of the people and the area, a bit more than I would have gotten by just walking through. My time at the Indian Fair maintained a unique place at the forefront of my memory of our travels. August 14th, 1986, Thursday, Anadarko and Chickasha, Oklahoma. Instead of continuing north on Route 81, we headed due west from Chickasha and arrived at the fairgrounds last evening. Usually, we are a few days early or a few days late for special events. This time, too early. But we're not the only ones who have arrived early. The Plains Indians, Comanche, Kiowa, Wichita, Cheyenne, Osage, and Caddo, are represented. All the biggies and lots of smaller tribes are either here or on their way. Many come early to get the choice spots. Some have a teepee, some have Sears tents, and others are setting up shelters of the traditional design and materials of their forefathers. Some are here with only their immediate family, and some with the whole tribe. This area is a fairgrounds, wide open, flat land, a racetrack with stands for spectators, which is part of a concrete building that contains cold showers and open toilets. The only privacy is found in the dark, dank porta potties sprinkled around for a few thousand expected to show up by parade time on Monday. I set up camp in a far corner. I am a stranger, new to the fair, and a white boy. And if nothing else, this rest for the next few days is free, except for the food we eat. This rest will be good for Dixie, too. She hasn't been complaining, but I know she has sore feet. She could use some time to heal to enjoy walking that much more when we get going again. There is a rodeo scheduled for Saturday. The parade is on Monday, and that is the official beginning of the fair. A carnival is setting up, and booths of Indian crafts are scattered around. I understand that everyone awaits the tribal dances and drum ceremonies on Monday. We made friends with our Indian neighbors. Having Dixie play with the kids is always an icebreaker. I wanted histories, and I wanted to know some culture. But so far, I have learned very little. Were they being secretive, or were the people I talked to uncertain? So far, it's hard to tell. Later. It's been over 24 hours, and I've talked to quite a few people. There might be some prejudice towards me, but overall, people are all very nice. I should be getting used to that by now. People are nice. I've been trying to get some history, but so far, most don't have much to say about it. I'm not sure what I expected. But being here, I've pondered that I am a Jew. I went to Hebrew school and I had a bar mitzvah. I know some of my Jewish heritage, but there is so much I don't know. I don't know the Hebrew or Yiddish language. I am not kosher. I don't celebrate the Sabbath nor go to temple every week. In fact, I hardly ever go. But I am a Jew. Still, there isn't all that much I have to share when it comes to Jewish history, besides what I learned about the Holocaust, some Old Testament stories, Moses and the Exodus, all the biggies. It seems to me I have something in common with the Native American Indians I have met so far. They belong to an ethnic group, but far from their origins. What once was a powerful culture seems very far gone. They are Native American, so perhaps it's funny to say they come across to me as very average Americans. The people I have met seem to be like any other minority in this country. Are they trying to fit in more than hold on to their own heritage? Or are they just in? Like my Jewish relatives have become part of modern America and left behind or lost a lot of Eastern Europe Jewish traditions. I think it's more understandable when Europeans or Asians, Mexicans, Jews, or whoever come to America and assimilate because they are leaving their origins to come to America to fit in with the hope of a better life. But these Indians never left their home. Their home changed. Perhaps it was adapt or die. Such a shame. From the Indians who we chased off in body and spirit, we ironically have kept ideas of government, medicine, jewelry, and clothing, and a lot more I have learned. These are my thoughts so far. In a few days, I hope to get a better, deeper understanding. I am journaling some of my early thoughts so I have something to compare to later. Later. As I ask respectful questions, I'm also asked about our life and lifestyle. I'm still amazed that such a common and unfortunate concern of so many is the bad people. The crazies of the world seem to have a market on the media. What about the crazies out there? It's such a common question. It's so sad. Only a few say, you must meet some very interesting and wonderful people. Later. Talking to the children, most know only a few words of their tribal language, and their old beliefs have given way to Catholicism, Christianity, and Mormonism. There seems to be more interest in modern fashion and culture rather than their folklore. I'm not surprised that Native American children and their parents want to live and have an enjoyable life in the modern world with all the conveniences. And I guess 100 years ago, those who held on to the old ways were either slaughtered or kept out. As time went on, those who cared more for living than for heritage survived and propagated. It seems that it's mostly the elders who know of and still hold on to the customs and beliefs. And as time goes on, fewer and fewer follow what once was. I know it's early on, but it's hard to not think about what I'm surrounded by. I guess I'm influenced by whatever I have learned about Indians in my earlier life, both the accurate and the stereotype. I just don't know which is which. August 17th, 1986, Sunday. We've been hanging out for 4 days now. It's not easy for me to sit still for so long. There hasn't been much going on, just a lot of hanging out by everyone who's been showing up. We've had company. Friday afternoon, I was walking around, looking, watching. The carnival was being set up. A guy in his 30s, a long graying beard matching his hair bellied on over. Raja has become my buddy. He asked me if I was looking to make some money helping to set up the carnival. Not really, I said. We walked and talked for a while and discovered that there was money to be made. Work all day long and they'd give us $10 each. I think not. Roger thought similarly. Over the course of a few hours, I think that through Roger's eyes, we are of the same mold. Traveling around, hanging out, drinking, screwing, bullshitting. I wonder if this really is the impression I give out. I hope not. I see myself as a young man in search of himself and his life, ambitious to strive and grow for bigger and better things once I decide what they are, and to keep moving forward. I mean, yeah, occasionally I like to drink, I like to bullshit with people, and I remember that I like to have sex, but I like so many other things too. I think Roger only considered some of my qualities. Over the last couple of days, I seem to have adopted Roger, and his cronies, Randy, Marty, and a bunch of women who seem to pop up. Roger moved his covered red pickup, also housing his Rottweiler puppy, Rocky, next to where I had set up the tent. The pickup is basically the only home Roger has. Dixie loves her new playmate, though. They do a lot of playing. I'm very happy about that. All these people are quite cheerful and friendly, but I have a hard time accepting that these neighbors, the non-Indians, put me in the same league as them. Is it snobbish to want more out of life than just traveling around, hanging out, drinking, screwing, bullshitting? Roger says he works every few months for a while and then he sort of gets fired. He then has about 3 months of unemployment insurance to live off of. Anadarko is his base. Of course, the last few years I've only worked a few months at a time and then not worked for a while. Of course, I'm only 23 and I don't plan on doing this for more than a few years. And I've never been on unemployment. Since Friday, I have mostly hung out with these folks. There was little else to do after the daily walk around the fairgrounds, waiting for evening to come and activities to begin. Roger, Marty, and company and I talk all the time, mostly just bullshitting about whatever. One conversation with Marty feels like it sums up the experience with these particular white folks. Marty is a good-looking, friendly fellow, a nice, simple guy. He doesn't have much to say most of the time. He's a bit slow. The only thing that runs at normal speed is his 450 custom Honda motorcycle. Marty is married for the second time and has some kids. I'm not sure how many are his and how many came with his wives. I'm not too sure if he was sure either. I asked Marty in conversation if he worked. Uh, I can't work. I'm too slow. What do you mean? I got married when I was 17, you see, and I wasn't too happy. So after a while, after I turned 18, I tried hanging myself. I almost made it too. I had stopped breathing for about 6 hours. But they found me, cut me down, and saved me. For about 6 months, I was in a coma. I never quite recovered. The loss of oxygen to my head caused some damage. I can't think as fast as I used to. And that's why you can't work? Ah, I can't think too long at one time. Who's going to hire me? Oh, wow. That must be rough. What do you do all day? I just ride around on my bike. Sometimes I hang out with some friends at the garage. That's also why my wife thinks I'm cheating on her. Do you ever get bored? Yeah, sometimes. I've been like this for 11 years. I haven't had a job since then. How do you get money? Social Security. I guess I'll always be on it. August 22nd, 1986, Friday, El Reno, Oklahoma. We got back to Route 81, and it's been a few days of walking. I've reflected on my time at the Indian Fair. Less than 1,000 Indians showed up. The economy, they say, made this year's festival smaller than usual. The rodeos, with all Indian cowboys, was your basic rodeo. It was fun. The carnival had its usual assortment of rides and games. It was nothing special or different. The greyhound races consisted of 3 or 4 dogs per 1 minute race. Between races was a 20-minute wait. In 2 hours, I saw about 6 minutes of dog racing. The parade on Monday down Main Street, Anadarko, was about 8 blocks long. The costumes of the varied tribes shined in the sun. Multicolored feathers, blankets, and Indian pride waved in the breeze. Indian dancers followed the cars that were made to be floats. It was cool to be there for all that. But the last 2 blocks of the parade were politicians and political publicity. That didn't belong. It was a real turnoff for me. And then the parade was over. That was it. The most interesting of all was the ritual drum ceremony. The sun went down on Monday, and the lights of the track lit the raceway. The elders began to pound drums in the way they were taught so many years ago. All the tribes danced their dances. The music of the drums was soft and loud, fast and slow, but always in a consistent tempo. The dancers' feet hitting the ground at just the right moment in what appears to me an unnatural rhythm, a rhythm attained only from practice and practice. I felt a spiritual feeling in the air, yet I felt excluded. Something was happening for sure, but I didn't have the capacity to understand. Indian pride is alive and well and felt from within, but you have to be an Indian to feel it. I am not an Indian. I could only feel the edge of what was in the air, the surface. It was obvious that the drumming and dancing was important to those who were participating. But that special feeling seemed to be only on the ground where the drumming and dancing was taking place, in close proximity. When I went to sit and walk around in the stands, my fellow spectators, 90% or more who were Indians, were just that, spectators. It didn't seem like many of the people in the stands were feeling the spirituality in their heart. They were there, and it was important for them to be there, I guess, but I didn't feel that spiritual energy in the stands or in their body language. It was blatantly missing. I came to see what Native American Indians and their culture were really like, but I have to believe that my 1 week experience was insubstantial. And if anything was real about it, I'm sorry to say I was not impressed. Generally speaking, the Native American people I have met, at the fair and elsewhere, are an easygoing, laid back, friendly people. I've always felt respected by them and appreciated for my respect to them. I've been told by Indians and non Indians that many do like to drink a lot, but not necessarily to work typical American jobs or careers. Many like bingo. Certain parts of the traditional culture are alive and well, and other parts seem dead. One of my neighbors at the fair was a Kiowa family consisting of a father, mother, 6-year-old son, and 3-year-old daughter. All of them were very big people, large boned and big bellied. The 3-year-old looked as if she weighed as much as me. At 3, she was obese. These Kiowans were very warm, generous, and we had some pleasant conversations. One conversation stood out. The father of the family told me, "I don't work much. The government gives us money that is due us, especially when they sell off some of our lands. The Bureau of Indian Affairs and our tribal council take care of that. Oh, every once in a while I go to town to Chickasha and get a job at the Kmart in the stockroom. But I only do that when it looks as if the little one is losing weight." Later, I asked myself, "Steve, what do you think about what you saw?" I've been thinking about it as we walked up Route 81 the last few days. I can play it safe and say I've not had enough experience to honestly say if I understand what I saw. I feel like my opinions can be insulting, which I don't want to do. Yet, I saw what I saw. What I saw were samples of Indian tribes in a little town in Oklahoma during the hot summer of 1986. I talked and observed for only a few days. And even though it was at a festival to celebrate a heritage, I saw a dying culture. And I began to wonder how sad that really is. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, like some species, some cultures just die out. It's sad and it's a real loss of what their culture or any culture has to offer, but things die. It's not the first human culture to die. Are these good people just the remnants of that culture? I don't know what to make of it. I asked a few children, teenagers, and adults some questions about what they knew about their tribal history. Most said they didn't know their native language, but most knew a few words. Many are Christian, Catholic, and Mormon. I've learned that when the reservations were set up, the only schools were run by missionaries. They instilled the ways of Jesus Christ, and it took hold. Ancient Indian beliefs started to die with the elders. Many knew the chants and dances, but these were performed mostly on special occasions. Side note, I can describe my experience regarding the rituals my family followed around Passover and the other high Jewish holidays in a similar fashion. What I saw was not so much a Native American Indian nation, but just another struggling minority group within the United States. I have considered that immigrants from wherever come to America for various reasons, assimilate over time, and lose their native culture for the modern American culture. That is understandable. They leave their homes. Native American Indians, though, never left their homeland. Their homeland changed without their consent. I know enough that Indians of different tribes in different parts of America are different. When I experience those people and those tribes and lands, I will see different things. I'll become more educated, and I'm sure my opinions will evolve. That's why we're walking. Side note. Then, and still to this day, I consider the experience I had at this Indian festival, made for and attended by Native American Indians, to have been uninspired. But still, it was a direct, firsthand, and authentic experience. It was not based on others' descriptions or stereotypes or marketing. It was a very real experience, and my journal entries were as objective as I could be at the time. It was a unique, powerful, and poignant experience in a small town in Oklahoma in 1986. 2 years further into this trip, on a side adventure, I met John Moran, a Chippewa, also known as Chippewa Indian, in Minnesota. John is a man with great ethnic pride, morals, knowledge of his Native American forebears, quite learned and articulate in Native American history and USA relations with the Indians, and how he looks to fight for his people's future. I look forward to introducing you to him. Thanks for listening. Peace.